Good evening, everyone. System Chalk here with the 101st episode of Book of Hours, playing as the artist. Now, this is more related to the channel in general, but for those of you that have been enjoying the Twitch series, I should let you know that I have now completed that playthrough. I've played Book of Hours to the end now. This doesn't mean that there aren't more mysteries for me to see inside of Hush House. In fact, in this particular playthrough, there are already some books that I haven't seen before. But there's a small adjustment that I've made to the title, or to the description inside of YouTube to say that, you know, I have at least played the game to successful completion. And I think I wanted to maybe give a heads up. This is probably better for the people on the Twitch side, but essentially for the next little while, these YouTube videos will be the main and possibly the only source of Book of Hours content for a while. I have a number of different saves, all of which I intend to play to completion, but for the live channel, I do want to try and bring a little bit more variety back in. But as far as these videos are concerned, other than the fact I am working very hard at my new job, they should continue to come out every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And, of course, that carries with it the risk that I only am going to be remembering... I suppose at least I don't have... a daily game to interrupt my recollections, but this does mean that I'm going to have these week-long periods between sessions where I'm trying to figure out what I need to do. So let's take a quick look here. We are talking with Tuppence, the other chicken. This was to get an egg. Now... Okay, so it looks like we're just feeding the hungry Stimpling. For Daymare, I believe we already have all of the languages that... that this visitor would give us. So actually, this would be Ramson. We already have Ramson. So at some point during the day, we will take care of that. Now I got the Horizon site presumably for a reason. I suspect it would be to try and read one of these rose texts. Now, my FET's already occupied, so perhaps I was going to try and do that. You know, I think I probably made a mistake here. So, let's just take a look at the sweet bones. We are fixing and mending, but we can get the FET back. I suspect probably this was a mistake. But yeah, we are going to try to read the... I think we'll try to read the history of the Shadowless Kings and then move on from there. And then as far as opening new rooms, I would like to get on that at some point, but I don't think today is the day to do that. I think we have enough on our plate that I should focus on some other tasks. Move gingerly while the pain lasts. An old wound. The wound is visible, the pain is not. Okay, let's... I'm just trying to think if there's anything that I can do in the meantime. We've got the Horizon site and we've got the gossip. I really don't think there's anything else for me to do, at least for the interim. Yeah, we gotta wait at least for the sweet bones to finish up. So there's not much work on offer in Brandkrug, but I can find 6 worth of odd jobs. As I used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. Okay, so our aim here is going to be first of all to get the FET back. Tuppence will buy me a hearty meal and a quiet place where I can rest and gather my thoughts. It does mean that we're going to be pretty close to the end of the day if/when we finish reading this text. In fact, I should probably renew this other FET as well. Yeah, I'm potentially creating some hardship for myself here, but I can see myself getting through everything. And now it suggests a meal would be welcome. Okay, so let's So I suppose the question here is there an advantage to me talking with Daymare right now, or should I take care of my, you know, my individual tasks? We're already gathering the food, so I can feed the Stimfling. I mean, given that... So I was originally hoping to talk with Mrs. Kill, and I don't think that's really going to happen. I think probably my best bet here is to just use the talk verb while I can, and then if we wind up, you know, giving Daymare the book overnight, you know, as long as I don't use an element of the soul for that, so yeah, that's going to be what we do. Talk with the Stimfling. There's not a whole lot. I'm trying to think if there's something that I would want the Arab for, and to be honest, I can't really think offhand given the way that the day is shaping up, so we will feed the Stimfling, hissing avidly, satisfy this creature's appetite. And in 24 seconds, it's pretty important that I get this Fet back, but I think I will start reading the history of the Shadowless Kings. Although, as far as Mrs. Kill is concerned, we probably won't be getting much done with her. It's summer and I'm sitting on the bench outside the Sweet Bones, eating crumbly cheese and nettle wrappings and good black rye bread, soaking up the sun. Okay, so, first things first. Tuppence will buy me a hearty meal in a quiet place where I can rest and gather my thoughts. This is in case we get the, you know, give us another element of the soul challenges. Now I do want to take a minute here and just reason through what the steps are going to be. So with this we'd take Isaac of Karth's True History of the Shadowless Kings. Now I don't believe we have any rose inks to work with that. We'll... I know Porphyryne provides rose, but I don't recall if there are any other inks that give us that. Okay. So our best bet here would be to use the Lunar Globe. So that gives us 12 of 14. So what this essentially means is I need either the Fet or I need the Gossip. So if we get an element of the soul or we get a memory, we'll be good. So, you know, there is a challenge here, right? The Horizon Sight is not a piece of cake for me to get. On the other hand, it's not overwhelming for me to get either. So we'll do our best. I feel somewhat confident that we'll be able to get it, but we still want to make sure that, you know, we're not being reckless with our memories. So perhaps you provided Rose, but not enough to match Mystery Rose. If you're lucky, you might still succeed. And the minute is the exact same length as the work in the Sweet Bones. Carrots, tomatoes, marrows, and blessed onions, all the unsung heroes of the stew pot. Full belly makes a helpful friend. Stimfling, Ava de Wolf taught her father Valentine how to hatch these silvery little villains, but he never learnt to like them. Alright, so I think we'll... Again, we don't have a whole lot more for the day, but pleading Tuppence, cluck cluck. Use a soul card with suitable sustenance. Food will make a hungry beast or a wild one cooperative, so I want you to eat the whole sack of vegetables. Satisfy this creature's appetite. So that's another minute spoken for again. I don't think we're going to get much from Mrs. Kill today, but that's also not the end of the world, given that we have some other priorities we're trying to meet. Better now. Alright, so let's try and get a little money out of that fatigue. We spent a bunch restoring my elements of the soul, but we can still probably cover the costs. And, oh my goodness, okay, so it's all furniture. This is going to be a bit of a challenge, but I think I should be able to count... Well, yeah, you know... Let's see how it goes. We'll see. I'll use the empty slot to see what it accepts. This might get tricky. All right, stretch my legs and change my point of view. Now, you can count animals as oops. You can count animals as comforts, but the challenge here is that I'm looking very specifically for something rose. So this can become a little bit of a challenge. So as you can see, there's a bunch of things that sort of highlight, but you want to cross-reference that with anything that has rose. And there's actually relatively few rose items in the house overall. So we do have Dr. Serena Blackwood, but the catch with that is that that's art, so the art will only be used once. Now it looks like, oh, actually, how much you want to bet that? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I realize this will not be the most compelling viewing, but we are just going to slow everything down right here and take the time to find rose furniture. Because I think there is a very distinct possibility that, yeah, this is another good example of art as opposed to comfort. I think there's a very real possibility that we don't succeed on this particular reading. So the thing to remember is we've got 2 comfort, but 1 art. If we had 2 art and 1 comfort, we're in okay shape. Yeah. So food doesn't count as a comfort. I beg to differ. But I think I need to face the unfortunate reality that we don't have any rose comforts to employ here. So the other approach that I can take is to see if, you know, by some miracle I wind up with art with 2 rows. That's not completely out of the question, but it would be something of a rarity. That, unfortunately, Musgrave counts as a thing, not as a comfort. Alas, I think I need to hope for rosy art. And in fact, I can kind of anticipate the disappointment by looking at what's already on the walls. I'm thinking we come up short. That's a shame. Obviously, there's always that sunk cost worry whenever you're broadcasting. You know, you kind of spend the time differently in the back of your mind. I definitely wanted to take the time to see that, but so the tricky part here is that it's very easy to just kind of say in the back of your head, yeah, there isn't a rose comfort I can work with. So for instance, I've looked for rose animals in the past, and that hasn't turned out. But especially in a situation like that, or in a situation like this, it doesn't hurt to actually confirm that, especially because these are the opportunities to learn new things. But, oop. I'll just get ready for the fact that I need to talk to the Stimpfling again. And we try again tomorrow. Alright, a full belly makes a helpful friend. This beastie is now inclined to cooperate. Not much for us to take from Mrs. Kill, so let's chat with Dagmar. Grafin Frederica, Dagmar, Sophia, Teresa, Helena, Begina von Nagelsberg, if you prefer. She doesn't. Hello, dear. Only me, I'm afraid. So we will talk about the Oriflamme heist. Heist? Oriflammes? Poppycock. Forgeries. Poppycock. Bureau all over the place, arresting everyone, though. Worse than Artuccio. Bloody pardon me, pain in my bloody pardon me, hinder parts, pardon me. Suppose if one happened to be the sort who happened to know anything about Nyctodromy or, anything, might wonder about being locked up, might wonder about what sort of information might mislead the authorities. Not mislead, discourage, put off the scent. Not that there's a scent to put, sort of thing, safe side. Try a book with as much mystery knock as their knock interest. So that's only a 3 knock that we need to deal with. Traveling at night ought to do the trick. Thank you, dear. Cheered me up a bit. Bright side sort of thing. Pip, pip. Alright. So that's a minute. I suppose I can add the Carrie's painting, but I'm not... not exactly expecting a miracle. So if we had an ink, something like a rose version of Catwink, we actually would have gotten that, but... Alright, take a moment to look at something here. Now, what I will do just one last time is see what counts as valid art. It's basically what we think, everything that's hanging on the walls. But again, when you have limited options, doesn't hurt just to confirm. Yeah, so we'll add carries, but we're short one. Actually, there is one thing that I can do. So if we're going to wind up going through the whole, get a horizon sight and feed the chicken and all of that cycle, we might as well get, everything that we need. Better now. There's not much work on offer in Brancrude, but I can find 6 pence worth of odd jobs, or add a coin to find visitors seeking employment. Not today. The mysteries in this have defeated me for now. You can always try again later, and we've got a hindsight for our trouble. Alright, so again, a shame we're down a pretty valuable memory off of that, but you can't pick what comes up. Alright, night has fallen, dawn will come soon, so now we're not going to worry about... in fact, we're going to be down the health tomorrow, it looks like. We won't worry about doing any more of the conversations, and we'll try to preserve the gossip. And we're up the Bronze Spintria, so there's that, I suppose. So I think we'll start with a chat with the Stimfling. I don't know if there's much value in talking with Mrs. Kill tomorrow, but I also don't think it will hurt. As I used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. So the aim for tomorrow is basically going to be... we'll do the same thing with the book. We're going to need to wait a minute so that the Stimfling can give us the horizon sight. But everything after that is going to be the same, so we'll start reading the book a bit earlier in the day. I am going to talk with Mrs. Kill in hopes of her giving me something I can use once we read the book. But before we do anything, we use our tryst. Time with the beastie. Offer this beast my company. Who knows? Perhaps it will offer something in return. So this is where we get the horizon sight from. So there's the... There's the late vegetables. I've carried a memory like a flambeau safe through the mazes of night. And... Mrs. Kill stands ready to help. You always cheer me up, she says morosely. So it does feel a little weird. Actually, I should be making some money. There's not much work on offer in Brancrude, but I can find 6 pence worth of odd jobs. It's a little weird just to do this all over again. We're essentially redoing the day, but we are going to do this a couple of times with Isaac of Karth's History of the Shadowless Kings and the History of Inks. If there's an opportunity that comes up that tells me, okay, you know, we can really make a go at one of these regions, I might consider otherwise. But I'm not entirely sure it's the best use of my time, especially because if we get to a point where we can make a couple of repeatable and powerful items, particularly keeper level recipes, those would be good to work with right away. Alright, horizon sight. On a clear autumn day, the story goes, you can see Ys from the Watchman's Tower. I don't know whether that's true, but on a clear day in Numa, you would see the city unbuilt. Dr. Brian Levinson. Okay, so... Oh! I should have paid closer attention. My fet is, I think, gisting? Too loosely tethered to me so that I glimpse the mansis even in daylight hours. A defeat when additional rose is present makes fet vulnerable to gisting. My concentration fails, a part of my soul flutters away, drawn by a half imaginary light. So I was wondering what that click was. In dreams, I visited the house behind the world, and some part of me is trapped there now, even when I wake. Now, this shouldn't be too hard for me to recover. So if I put this in here, I can add Grail right away. So we'll add the Arab. So that brings us up to 3 of the required 5. Now we need a drink. Now normally I would use water, but this is actually a perfect case for me to use the Witching Tisane, and I might have kept some in the kitchen. Yep, there it is right there. So if I, you know, in a pinch I can always make another one using Desires and Dissolutions, but this is a perfect example of something I can use to recover. Now, this does raise a question for me. Do I want to risk... You know, I'm going to try something a little risky here. I'm going to try and read the text again. And the problem is that we're only going to get 1 rose as opposed to 2. But given that we know it's so simple for me to recover the fet, I think it's not a bad... I don't think it's a bad trade-off. Okay, perhaps you provided Rose, but not enough to match Mystery Rose. If you're lucky, you might still succeed. In the meantime, let's take advantage of the talk verb, so we can... we'll talk to Terence this time. Was this magnificent and indomitable beast named for the rector's indomitable and magnificent housekeeper? Best not to inquire too closely. And for that, we will use the tryst. Offer this beast my company. Who knows? Perhaps it will offer something in return. Now we'll definitely bring the fet back, but I want to see what I can get before I go too far down that rabbit hole. As they used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. So let's go and refresh. It is summer. I'm sitting on the bench outside the Sweet Bones eating crumbly cheese and nettle wrappings and good black rye bread, soaking up the sun. So what we'll need here is either a memory or we're going to need an element of the soul and something like art. If it's element of the soul and comfort, then I'm just going to quietly walk over to the other side of the apartment and punch the wall. There's still a chance. Okay, so yep, element of the soul, art, it's educational, and memory. Okay, so all of these will work for us. Now I do have a tendency to miss entries, so I want to be a bit careful. And I have clearly been getting too many of the objects. And now it suggests a meal would be welcome. So let's start with a core with the Stimpling. Satisfy this creature's appetite. Okay, so this maybe isn't the smartest thing for me to do, seeing as I could be recovering this earlier, but I'd rather take the things that I'm guaranteed to get before I go too far. There's still a chance. Now, presumably here it'll ask me for the art. Oh, no. What's the memory? I can live with that. So it's not that long that the melody's going to be tied up anyway. All right, I've mastered this and gathered the lessons it concealed. Isaac of Karth's History of the Shadowless Kings. A true and accurate history of the Shadowless Kings by Isaac of Karth. Isaac describes the 1,000-year ascendancy of the Shadowless Empire. The first and greatest history is described herein: the Persian Empire, the sons of Achaemenes, the Shadowless Kings. The most glorious empire survives the assaults of Alexander the Great and flourishes as late as the 5th century. After the fall of Rome, the Shadowless Empire takes Byzantium under its wing and moves east against the land of the Great River. Isaac begins to recount the invasion struggling against the unskinned armies of the Hooded Serpents, but ends abruptly with a series of incantations he claims allowed the Shadowless Empire to persist. So, for all that, we got a confounding parable. And we have sand stories, which we can use to upgrade. Now, I do recall we had quite a few confounding parables already. These were foresight. I guess these were the confounding parables. But the good news is I don't think there's going to be too much that prevents me from being able to work on the next book. So sand stories we can already level up once. We'll take this here. Now this is the nice thing about having the fatigued element of the soul. Or, sorry, afflicted element of the soul. So we can add that right now. Now I'll need 2 of either moon or rose. Now technically I already have that with the old wound. We have a bunch of elements of the soul just sitting around not being used, so we will use the list at the pale desk, remembering that I'm going to keep the Arab aside for recovering my element of the soul. So let's read... we can do Serenity of the Blackwood. And let's do a contradiction. I don't remember what the Black Book of Brittany gives. I should have updated. I would guess maybe Stolen Secrets, but I'll have a think on that. We don't need to know this right away. Yeah, contradiction. This is fear. This is definitely it. All right, so as much as I love reading those indignities perpetrated, let's do Deoris Volume 3. Edge a Trophy. I've already mastered this, but I could reread it and perhaps recall a memory. So we'll combine those with the FET, so that's going to take a minute. We'll use that to level up Sand Stories. Now, there might be an argument for me recovering the FET tomorrow. Sooner is probably better with that, though, so I'm not 100%. Otherwise, one thing that I might want to do is talk with Mrs. Kill so that I can get a memory to take overnight, although maybe I can just get that using the Foster the Shaft. But yeah, I think we're going to make an effort to do the same thing with the History of Inks. It would just be nice if I could recover the FET before I do that. So I guess maybe one other thing I can do is try and make a Witching to Sane before the night is done. But all of that will be done in a future episode. Thank you very much for watching. As always, Tuesday is a day off, so the episodes will be back on Wednesday as we basically continue the work that we started today. Until then, take care. See you in the next one.